Hello, everybody, and welcome to Insensitivity Training. I'm Cort McCown.
I'm Joe Bartnick.
And today I think we have maybe the king of insensitivity.
Oh.
I think
that's sweet.
I know. I think maybe
I've upset a lot of people.
You have but in a nice way, not in a bad way.
No,
in a bad way.
women
I want to welcome to the podcast a hero of both Joe's mind, Mr. Jim Jefferies. Welcome.
Hello,
to the program.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We're in your estate on Mount Olympus.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Can't even breathe up here.
Yeah, it's very nice up here.
My ears do. This is how weird it is. Like I live only 1,000 meters above sea level or whatever, and I can tell it because my GPS says as I'm rising in my car.
Your GPS is from England?
It's from Italy.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, really? Oh, okay. But it's not Americanized.
Oh, it's Americanized.
Oh,
yeah.
but it goes meters.
No, it goes feet.
Oh.
1,000 feet.
Oh,
right?
you convert.
And it's my ears pop every time I drive up here, right? And we just did a bus tour. Me and Forrest Shaw did a bus tour, and we were driving along the Rockies, and obviously in a bus, and it wound around the corner. I rolled out of bed, 20,000 feet up, most panicky wake up I've ever had in my life. Like, the air was so thin, and I rolled out of bed. I was, I can't breathe. I'm gonna die.
Did you wake up right away, or did it take a little groggy?
No, bang, hit the floor.
Oh, yeah.
And for a while there, my girlfriend and my kid were on the bus as well, so I was sleeping in a bunk for a lot of it. I didn't even get the bed at the back.
Oh, that's not fair.
But it's amazing to me now after doing that to understand like how any band stays together. Unless you're so successful that each one of you gets your own bus.
Right.
How the fuck do these people live for months?
That's why you have to make it before you're like 23, 24, 25, because then you're like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. It's like it's like going, especially shitty hotels and stuff like that. It's like you get, oddly enough, as shitty as I get treated sometimes, even as a feature on the road or whatever, you always get put up in a decent hotel.
Yeah.
The clubs generally, I'll say 95% of the clubs put you up in a pretty decent hotel.
Anything from DoubleTree up.
Yeah.
DoubleTree's good. You get the cookie.
Yeah.
And from the heated tray, and you're like, all right, I can deal with this.
Or the hotel is so close to the club you can throw a rock and hit it,
Yeah.
and it's like you're all right, whatever, it doesn't matter.
I like those ones where you go back and it's got that little shop in the hotel.
Oh, yeah, and then there's no one there, and it's kind of just like a buffet.
Yeah. I know, like you're meant to pay, but there's no one there.
Yeah.
And the thing is, these are things you don't even want to steal. You're taking mini boxes of Fruit Loops,
Yeah.
a microwave Philly cheesesteak, and you're like, all right, this is me.
Yeah.
I was those little microwave White Castles that never seem to microwave the right. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you make the bun and the meat?
I was working with Dice, Andrew Dice Clay one time. We did this casino.
You don't have to elaborate. You just say Dice.
All right, well, I know, but yeah.
He goes, I'm working with Dice. Andrew Dice.
Anyway, so I was working with Dice, and we were in this casino in Oklahoma, and he went through, and they had one of those mini little places, and he just got a baggie, and he just opened the baggie, and he just started shoving all the stuff in there. I mean, he took almost everything that was on the shelf, like 5 Reese's, Butterfingers, Snickers. He just put them all in the bag, and he walked by, and the guy was standing there at the front desk. He goes, "It's for Dice," and he just walked up to his room. And the guy just kind of looked at him like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "What are you gonna do?" Anyway,
Dice. I don't like American chocolate. This is the one thing that's stopping me from getting fatter in this country.
You have lost some weight.
I lost a little bit. I go up and down. I haven't lost anything intentionally. I work out, but it's a fucking heading to 40. It's a struggle weight. I can't.
wait till you start getting closer to 50. It's beyond a struggle.
But you know when you get like people in their 20s that's just like, try not to eat after 6. And you're like, no, you don't get it. It just gets harder. It's not. I understand the principle that if you burn more calories than you eat, you'll lose weight. I get it.
Right.
But it used to be like, I could just eat calories and not exercise, and I'd still keep my weight down.
You'd be fine. Yeah, it doesn't work that way anymore. No, it stays, and then all of a sudden you're going like, wait a second, I finished that half gallon of ice cream, and I don't feel so good, and you wake up the next day and you go, I still feel fat, and it's like...
Well, I do things like I eat a hamburger that weighs like half a pound with everything on it, right? And then I weigh more, I gain a pound in weight, and you're like, well, that doesn't seem right. I'm gaining more than the actual weight of the food.
You have to weigh yourself the first thing in the morning.
Yeah, that's the lowest you are.
Yeah, that's what they say. I don't know. Every 18 months, I go up 10 pounds to my natural weight. Every 18 months, you know what? I think 270. I think that's where I fit naturally at. Yeah.
Do you weigh your shits? I weigh my shits.
You do?
Yeah.
What?
What I do is
you have a nicer toilet than
I weigh myself in the morning. Then I have a shit. Then I weigh myself again. No, I just a little hobby.
Oh, well, you should. Well, or you could, instead of doing that, you could just shit into a bag and just weigh that.
No, I don't weigh it. I subtract the piss and the shit.
All right.
I normally piss and shit 1.5 pounds each morning.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't see that close to the scale.
Healthy,
my
man.
scale's not that. I can't see that far away.
Mine's electronic. And it
really?
goes
so you can
down to the point.
All right.
You can weigh drugs or you can weigh shit on it.
I try to weigh how much I've shit each day, and then I look at it. There's a little game I play with myself. I go, I reckon that's a 0.8 of a pound shit, that one.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, eyeball it almost like a guy at the deli. Oh, that looks like 1.5 pounds of roast beef.
I'm like the guess your weight guy at the carnival.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, listen, I want to talk about a few things with you today, and one of the things I really want to talk about, because I just revisited it.
You mean his shits wasn't one of them on your list?
No, that wasn't on the top of my list. He did answer the door in his underwear, which I thought was kind of strange. And he goes, I just got out of the shower. And I was like, no, you just did that for me. You wanted me to see the slim, trim Jim.
Yeah.
And,
that's right.
But I want to talk about Legit, your show you had on FX. And I watched the show the other night. And there was 2-parters. It was the racist episode.
Yeah.
And that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. The fact that you went all the way and dropped the N-bomb on television.
If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. You can watch it. Season 2. That's the I think the first 2 episodes are. That's season,
I think it's like 3.
2 and
I think
3
it's 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. One of those. Yeah.
And that was the hardest one to get through. And it actually wasn't meant to be a 2-part episode, but because we said the N-word, we had to say to the network, they said, you can say it, but we can bleep it, or we can. This is like on cable,
right?
And then they said, if you say to be continued, you're going to redeem yourself.
Right.
So all the episodes are 2-parters. All the episodes go together. It's a serialized show.
Yeah.
But that one we had to write to be continued, so people thought, oh, it's not over. They're going to take it back.
They're going to apologize.
And all it was we this sort of happened to me in real life. I dated a girl, and I went on 2 dates with her, and I thought she was just the best chick ever, and she was fun, and she was funny, and I was really into her. And then just in a public place on about the 3rd date, she says the N-word just in front of, and in front of black people and everything, and looked at me like
right?
Am I right?
Am I right? Am I right or am I right?
And she didn't say it even ironically or with a twinkle in the eye. We've all had a drunk friend say something stupid. In Australia, the biggest compliment you can call a person is a digger. D-I-G-G-E-R,
right?
Because that's what they call the army vets. In World War I, they dug all the trenches, and so even now during Remembrance Days, they go, "Oh, he's the great digger," and So if you got a good mate that you're really down with, you go, "Hey, digger," like that, right? I fell into that. I made friends with an Australian guy, and I was in London. I was in Camden, which is the blackest area. And drunk across a courtyard, I yelled out, "Hey, digger!" And then trying to explain Australian history to a Jamaican guy.
Yeah,
it's
trying to explain any history to a Jamaican guy is tough.
So what it was, was it was just an episode about that incident that happened in my real life, and then. Where's the line? What line do you... Because we've all dated women who, let's say, are bad cooks or are bad drunks or are bad... How hot does the person have to be before you go, no, that's too much. I can't go out with you because of this one personality trait. And so it was funny, my character in the second episode started to try to reason with it. Then Al Jackson comes along.
Yeah. Well, I liked it. I liked the funny thing is you had dinner with, you had a date with her, and you were afraid to take her out into the real world because you're afraid she was going to say anything. So you order Chinese food and have it delivered, and then you're like, you think you're in the clear. You don't even let the Mexican guy in, and then she notices him, and then she sits down and she goes, only in L.A. A chink or a beaner's delivering chink food.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing was we had the girl who played it, Betsy. She was about 5 foot tall, just a little tiny blonde actress, and she came along to audition. And the day that we had to audition, we were auditioning another episode that involved Mexican gang members. So the lobby was just filled with guys who were in gangs. They were all covered in tattoos. It's like it's a great thing if you're ever in a Mexican gang in LA and you get out. There's acting work to be had.
Oh yeah,
If you've got the authentic tattoos and everything. Like we got the guys of Breaking Bad in the show. They were two of the thugs in Breaking Bad. We were like, brilliant, you know.
Yeah.
We could have gotten the two twins off Breaking Bad from that season.
Oh wow.
They're all out there if you need a. And it's the same thing. Like, do you reckon like Arab actors, when like a 9/11 happens, they're like, I'm gonna get me so much acting work.
Yeah, well, Law and Order went through them all.
I know.
24 was just like, bring us another one.
I know Maz Jobrani was busy as a motherfucker for a while, man. That guy was working all the time, playing every terrorist there was.
Yeah.
But you know, the cool thing is like all this.
What I'm saying is, so they're all in the front. So we went. Mexican gangbanger type guy comes in, and then we had cute little innocent white girl comes in, and the doors are very thin. You've been to auditions where you can always hear the other person auditioning.
Yeah.
I have on tape somewhere, I haven't edited it together, but I have at least 30 hot women in Hollywood saying the N-word.
Oh, you've got to keep that.
I could splice it together to make the most viral video ever. And saying it with gusto.
Yeah.
You know, that must be
It's the only way to say it, though.
I mean, you got to think on some level.
You got to earn it. You got to own it.
Yeah, on some level, there's a bunch of people that would love to be able to like have the permission to go in and just drop the N-bomb, like you say, with gusto. And like, I'm getting paid for this. This is why I'm doing it. You know, I'm doing it for this.
Well, we did it.
It's only acting.
I still say the people that say it so great on camera can say it in their normal life.
we did the film. We did the shoot. She said it on Santa Monica Pier, and you know when you're shooting, and every homeless person walks up. What are you filming?
Yeah.
And they always come up because they want $50. That's my son crying in the background. So
yeah.
But they want $50 or whatever they want, you know, and they want to be, or they want to be in it, you know.
Right.
And so we're on the pier. There's about 10 homeless black people fishing off the end.
Wow.
And
what are they fishing for?
I don't know. We need you to move out of the way just to get out of this scene. What are you filming here? Nothing. And then, bang, she says it loudly.
Yeah.
What the fuck did she say like that? We're dealing with people with psychological problems and stuff.
Right.
What are you filming it? And
The jail actually gives them a place to stay.
And one of the ADs goes, "We're filming Django Unchained 2."
Oh my God.
It's set in the future.
Oh Jesus.
And then the guy's like, "Oh, that's good. I like that film." Oh, okay, I'm in. Cool.
But all the stuff I remember, like, because I remember when you used to did my show in Vegas, and the story that your series started on, the pilot.
Yeah.
Most of the stories in Legit were based on some of your personal experiences.
Yeah, well, season 1 was almost all, but it was basically all my stand-up routines sort of played out. And then season 2 was just, you know, there was things like the beginning of season 2. There's a love interest who's a girl who I met in high school, who just stopped talking to me. I was like 15, 16. I was devastated, you know, madly in love at that age. And then years and years pass. And what happened was, I'll tell the true story. I was like 15. I had sex with this girl. She'd come down to Sydney. We did some like acting, like summer camp, you know.
Right.
I shagged it, and then she went back up to Brisbane, and then we were just in love. And then I would ring her, and she probably doesn't know that I changed my name to a state. It's Samantha Cranswick, if you're listening.
We're actually big in Australia.
Yeah, but maybe someone will pass it on.
Oh, there you go.
You never know. There you go. This could be your entrance into Australian market. But so this girl goes. This girl, I used to ring her up from payphones. I put like $1 in, and that would be like 5 seconds back in the day. You know what I mean? I'd just go, I love you, and then you hear the coin go, kunk, and then that was my one call for the week, and I'd write to her every day, and teenage shit before the internet. Had to get a pen and paper out and then mail it, and wait by the mailbox for a fucking letter.
Little heart with an arrow through it. Smiley face.
Did you make her a mixtape?
Of course. Weekly.
All AC/DC.
Yeah. Lots of Van
Bit of Crowded House at the end to smooth things out to show that I'm romantic. Yeah. So I and then just the letters just stopped, and so I told my mum and dad that I was going on to stay at a friend's house, and I got on a bus to Queensland from Sydney to Brisbane, which is I'm going to say 16-hour bus ride.
Whoa.
Right?
Sounds like Greyhound.
Oh, yeah, really? Yeah, like a Greyhound, like really the worst. And I got on this bus, and I got all the way up there, and then I brought flowers, these wilted flowers, and I walked all the way to the door, and I knocked on the door, and then her father told me to fuck off. Right? Yeah. And I stood on the front lawn, and I went, Sam! Talk to me, please. And he's like, if he was America, he would have come out with a shotgun in that type of environment, right?
Wow.
So I got back on the bus and sat there and cried for 16 hours back there. I was like, oh, you fucking... Anyway, cut to... maybe I was 21 or something like that. And I actually bumped into her. I said, what the fuck was that? I was fucking got on but you could have at least fucking talked to me. You didn't tell me why you stopped. I was still holding this grudge about a 16, when I was 16-year-old romance. And she goes, well, I was pregnant and I had to have an abortion, right? And I was
fuck.
Oh, fuck. I got the girl knocked up, right? No wonder the calls just stopped and the dad fucking hated me. And I was like, and that's the story that I tell in the show. It was from this girl that I met in school, and she had to get an abortion. That's why she stopped talking. But then the girl goes, in real life, she goes, look, I'm pretty sure it wasn't you. I was seeing a few guys at that time. But you were the one that lived furthest away, so I told my dad it was you.
That's like if your parents find weed and you blame it on the guy that never comes to your house.
So I didn't put that bit in the story. I thought I'd make it more authentic, like I did get a girl knocked up, but like...
That's great.
Yeah. Not like I actually was seeing another guy. It was probably his. I was seeing a lot of guys back then.
Yeah. Oh, God damn. Well, you're
the one that came first.
Yeah, you're the one. It's so easy to go, Dad, it happened at band camp down in Sydney, you know.
Well, you've done what now? 3 specials?
I've done
3 for America anyway.
Well, I shouldn't say for America.
I've
done 4 for American television, 5 all up. But I did one of the 4 in the last 5 years. I did in London, but it aired on Showtime, so I sold it to Showtime. So I did my HBO special. I swear to God. Then I did Alcoholocaust in London, which wasn't originally called Alcoholocaust. It's just I got so fucking drunk during that performance. I got so drunk before I went on stage that I decided to like make it a theme. That's what I meant to do.
I'll never forget as long as I live. The one of the funnest nights we ever had in Vegas was you did the whole weekend. You did Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday you came in, you had a couple beers before the show. You went in, we did one show Thursday. You had a couple beers before the show. Friday, for some reason, you had a couple beers, nothing in between. Second show, you had a couple beers, fine. Saturday, you came in. The first show, you had a couple beers. You had 8 drinks because I had to sign the tab. You stood at the thing and you had like 8 vodka tonics or something, or vodka cranberries at the thing. And the second show, I've never laughed so fucking hard in my life.
That's the problem with being a boozy comic is the best shows I've ever had in my career have been legless, but also the worst shows of all. There's no happy medium,
right?
And whenever you're sober on stage, I always have good shows. I never have terrible shows when I'm sober. But I don't think I ever get that little moment of
I love having a few pops. I mean, people tell me you're the only comic that can drink a whole bottle of Crown the first show and then be fine for the second show. To me, it's always I always think if there's a waitress crying, I'm killing.
Yeah.
Like anytime the crowd's on my level. But yeah, well, I
don't handle booze as good as I used to, but I do enjoy being drunk at that. But the last time I got fucking drunk was I was in Sydney and I was doing the big theater, like 2,000 seat theater. I was doing 2 shows, and I did the first show, killed, and then like all these guys that I went to school with, who probably bullied me, who I didn't remember being friends with, they all showed up and they were backstage in the dressing room. So I was giving everyone drinks. I kept drinking, and everyone in the room found me funny, and so. But then, as soon as I walked on stage, I was like, "Oh fuck, I'm pissed." Like I was super fucking drunk, and people wrote comments and stuff like it was embarrassing how drunk he was. Anyway, the thing that sort of I couldn't remember me jokes. I was doing that weird thing where if you tell a joke and it's because it's a second show, you're worried that you've just told it twice in the same show.
Yeah, and then so halfway through, you have that look on your face like. Are they not laughing because I told this one already?
Yeah, and they're not going to tell you.
Yo.
Panic floods through. But anyway, my dad was at the first show, and then he was at the second show, and I came off, and I thought, oh, my dad's going to be so disappointed in me. Turns out he was so fucking drunk for the second show that he was like, that was the best one ever. He'd seen like 4 shows that week. He's like, you mixed it up in that one. You didn't stick to the script. I was like, Dad, I didn't know the script.
Well, you had the show you did. You were pretty. You were fine. I mean, as far as like you didn't do the show word for word, but at the end, you told the story that was the pilot for Legit. You told that story, and it was like, and it was so funny because they're all the waitresses are all trying to get out of there. The second show, it's like it was like 1 o'clock or something. And you went to like 1:45. It was like a 2.5 hour show, and I pissed myself laughing so fucking hard.
You've just told me I've wasted some waitresses' time. That's all. When you do that.
Oh, fuck them! I could care less about their.
Well, they're working. This is still why I was in the Palms, right? Didn't you move? You were still in Vegas?
Yeah, no, I haven't done Vegas in like 3 years. Well, you came over when we were over at the Paris. You came over and did the podcast there. You guys came over when you were still doing the podcast.
I now do the joint at the Hard Rock, and the last time I did it, there's several stories that go along with this. This is what drugs will do. There's 3 different versions of this story I've heard from the 3 different people that were there. Jason John Whitehead was there, Forrest Shaw was there, and me, and Sam Kinkin, my tour manager, and I did the joint, and they come up to me and they're like, yeah, the show starts at 8, and they go, you got to be done by 9:30. I'm like, people spend more money in Vegas. The ticket's like $60. Not even a ticket's like $40.
Right? Yeah.
And I'm not. I said I got 2 support acts. I brought 2 guys out with me so we could go out afterwards. I go, they're going to do like 10 minutes each, but I got to do at least an hour and a half myself. People are paying $60. I can't just give them an hour,
right?
And then he said, there's a band on after you. You have to be out of the venue by 9:30. The band starts at 11. I said, fuck the band. So I'm late. Because I remember getting in trouble with you because I did and Joey McIntyre.
Yeah, but we didn't give a fuck about him. Yeah, we just went out. We just went late.
Remember, I ran over by about 15 minutes, and then the owner of the Palms came and yelled at me because Joey McIntyre had to do some lounge singing from New Kids on the Block.
No, I one of the Maloofs.
No, he was from New Kids on the Block.
No, the owners or the Maloofs.
Oh, right. Yeah, the manager or something, came up and yelled at me because I was 10 minutes over. And then afterwards I was drunk, and there was maybe 10 people came to see Joey McIntyre.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck you, man.
I didn't even know who he is.
Gig, and you're like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, I never listened to that. I said, fuck it. We're just do what we do.
I had a little chip on my shoulder about Vegas people kicking me out of rooms, I guess. And so I was, and they go, you have to be off. There's a band coming on at 11. I think I literally said, look, who gives a fuck? Some late night fucking band's coming on at 11. Right? And they go, it's Guns N' Roses. And I went, all right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'd sold like 2,000 tickets in there. They're going to sell like 8,000 standing. They're going to get rid of all the chairs. So I said, I better get off. It's Guns N' Roses. But so I go on.
Axl will be late by an hour anyway.
Yeah, this is. I'm on stage. I'm on stage, and I'm doing all right, but I'm trying to get off by 9:30. I know I can get off at 9:45. No one's going to get too angry. and I'm trying to act like the show's running longer than it is for the audience. I'm lying. I'm on stage going, look, I've been on for too long. I got to get off the band. Look, I'll give you another 10 minutes, even though I knew I still had 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
These little tricks. And then I said something to the effect of, fuck it, I'm the Axl Rose. I'm never, it's not like Axl Rose has ever left me waiting for a gig, right? I said something stupid like that. Cut to, I get off stage, and I take a handful of mushrooms. Someone brought a bag of mushrooms. Right?
I like it. I like how the story starts out. Then he goes, and I come off stage and I eat a handful of mushrooms. Yeah. You know the story's going to get nothing but better from
and
here.
I hadn't taken mushrooms forever. There was all these people up in the dressing room, so I thought, I'll take a handful of mushrooms. And there was, and I can't say who it is, but there was a professional athlete up there as well with drugs who had just been knocked out of his respective playoff career. His team had just, he was in Vegas, right?
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so we're hanging out with this athlete and the thing, and then I go down and I do photos after the show, and maybe out of the 2,000 people, I reckon 500 people stayed, which is more than most. Normally 200 people stay for photos.
Yeah, 500 is a lot. Yeah.
And then at about the 150 people mark, the mushrooms kick in, and then I've just got my arm around strangers. One stranger after the next. Right?
Are you freaking out a little?
I'm freaking out. It's the only time I just walked away from the photos. And people probably to this day think I'm a jerk. There was things online about what a jerk I was that night, but it was like lizards were hugging. Yeah. You know what I mean? And my tour manager was like, "All right, everyone, Jim's done."
It's like lizards are hugging.
Every photo must have just been me going, "Oh."
No, those are creepy. When I tour with Lampanelli a lot, she gets a ton of those, and there's just so many people that there's just creepy people in every group of people.
She gets a ton of mushrooms, Lampanelli.
No, a ton of people coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like because when it's just me or the All In tour, or whatever, it's our fans. But she has thousands of fans, so it's just from all walks of life, and you just get wigged out.
Well, I think it's a weird thing to have to stand in that line and take tons and tons of pictures, because it's like the first 5 or 10, okay, but
it's like being Santa Claus.
Yeah, it's like being Santa Claus, and you're standing there, and it's the same thing, and they all want to talk to you, and they all want to tell you.
I think
a story.
It's so devalued now, though. I think before, when it was like, okay, you had to bring your camera. You had to really be a fan. You have to really be into it to do it. Now it's just like it's the same as here's a picture of my Sunday I ate at Denny's, and then here's you know what I mean? It's like it's not equal. You know what I mean?
Because everybody's little phone. It's like it's just everything's right there all the time. Everyone's taking a picture of everying now.
I met a guy from Australia.
I'll just finish the story quickly.
Oh yeah, sure.
So I get all wasted. I'm standing in the bar, and we go in and we watch Guns N' Roses. So we watch the whole concert, and then they invite us up for a gig, for an after party, and it's like it's at the top of the Hard Rock, and it's like stripper poles, and there's fucking just sluts eating each other out, and it was like a weirdest thing. And I'm on mushrooms, I can't even talk to people. Right? And I'm like wallpaper. I'm just standing there like like trying to make conversation, and then I'm standing there, and then the security guy goes, "Mr. Rose wants to talk to you." And now I'm like I'm chatting to Axl Rose, right? Yeah. And I'm like, "Hello, Mr. Rose." And like I'm trying to keep it together. I've been a big fan for many years. And he goes, not a lot of people know, but I'm actually a really big comedy fan. And I enjoyed your show this evening. But it's been completely overblown about how many times I showed up late for gigs. Like he's offended.
Yeah, he's offended you made a joke. Right? Yeah.
And I'm like, "I'm sorry, Mr. Rose, but no disrespect." And I got a photo with him, the two of us. You can tell that I'm fucking wired. And he's just...
And he doesn't usually take photos. He doesn't
take photos, no. No one else at the party got a photo with him.
Wow.
Yeah, and the weird thing is this is how... When I show people the photo, they go, "That's not him." It's like, because we all remember him from 20 years ago.
Right.
And so no one's seen him age. And people go, "Oh, he's gotten old." And you're like, "No, we just haven't seen him age." It's like jumping forward 20 years.
It's been 30 years, right?
Wow, since the peak, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm bad with math.
Yeah, but it is the thing is we see Slash appears everywhere.
Right. I will say this though. I saw regular Guns N' Roses. He was too not regular. Obviously, he's regular, but I mean his version of Guns N' Roses, and he was like 2 hours late. But it made my whole night because we were late from I did my show.
I like it.
And then because we work at it was headlining the Punchline. They go over and work at the go to the Warfield, and we knew the manager there, so. We're like, oh, we're waiting for Jimmy, and he comes right up and goes, oh my God, it's a zoo, and they're 2 hours late. I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, so we didn't miss anything. Literally saw my old roommate Jenny gave me 2 huge pints of Crown Royal. Just huge. All of a sudden you hear lights go down. Boom. He was incredible because whenever you say Slash is great, but it's the voice that's Guns N' Roses.
That's the Guns N' Roses.
I love Slash. He's amazing, but any great guitar player can sound like Slash. No one sounds like Adam.
But that's the thing. They didn't miss a beat. I thought it was I saw him in '92, and I think he performed better. I was on mushrooms, sure. Yeah. But his voice was mint.
Yeah, it was mint.
But I saw him when they were starting to hit their peak. Right at the end, I saw them. They opened for the Stones, and that's when they started. That was kind of one of their last shows they played as a band together, and.
What do you mean as a band together?
The original Guns N' Roses?
No, what's supporting the Stones? They were bigger than the Stones at their peak.
No, but
when they played, tour was massive.
Yeah, but they played. They opened at the Coliseum. It was the Coliseum. It was Living Colour, Guns N' Roses, and the Rolling Stones.
Oh, right. So that was a thing, right?
Yeah, the Stones are different. Like the Stones had AC/DC open for them.
Yeah,
the Stones had Pearl Jam open for them. The Stones are the funniest thing is Rush was like they did some free show in Canada for like 2 million people, and Rush thought that they would like be after AC/DC, and Mick's like
only in Canada.
Well, yeah, but Mick was like it's AC/DC.
Yeah, but
Tom Sawyer can't follow fucking 2 hours of AC/DC. Nothing can follow it.
No one does it better than AC/DC.
No, and it's the best because I a lot of Australian people in town you always perform for, and that's the first thing I say. You're Australia, greatest band in the world from Australia, and then even like 18-year-old chicks are like, AC/DC. I'm like, thank fucking God.
Well, it's a bit of a fallacy that they're Australian because they are and they aren't. They started out in Australia. They're quintessentially an Australian rock band because they started out in the pub scene around Perth. But they were Scottish immigrants. Then also the lead singer now is from Newcastle, England.
Right.
And Bon Scott there's like a statue of Bon Scott in Fremantle.
Right.
In Australia. But it's like my brother lives on the highway to hell, the Canning Highway, which is the highway they reference because they used to drive to this bar.
Oh, wow.
And then it was the shittest gig in town. And that's where they wrote the song.
Well, that's my theme song. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll because it has everything about comedy, getting ripped off, underpaid. Yeah. And I used to always play it on every road trip. And I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, along with it, I forgot what I was going to say.
How do you like the drummer just fucking trying to kill a guy?
Dirty deeds done dirt cheap. Band, I think they live it. They live it. I like that so much better than now he owns a vegan health stand and sells, fresh juices. No,
he got done with meth and ordering a hit on someone.
I think anybody our age has got to have had like that experience with AC/DC. That's like one of the greatest bands. I remember we used to sit.
I own the pinball machine.
Yeah. Oh, you own that? Oh, I took a picture of it in the Des Moines airport. I took it. I'm like, this is.
Oh no, greatest. I got the premium one with the lower level. We'll play it afterwards.
Oh, that's yeah. I mean, that's the best.
My son's favorite song is Thunderstruck.
Yeah.
Right. And he's only 2, and that's because it's in the movie Planes.
Oh shit! We used to sit. Me and my buddy Robbie Gibson. He had a '67 Chevelle that had no back seat. He put speakers in it, like home speakers. He put in the back of it, and we used to drive in. This was back in the early '80s, and pot was way illegal in Oklahoma. We used to pull into a car wash at night, in one of the bays, so we'd hide out from everywhere and just smoke out and AC/DC just blaring as loud as possible, and it looked like the inside of the car was on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just smoke filled.
I made it through Catholic school because of AC/DC. I mean, like I said, they're the best band when I was 10. The best band when I was 20. They're the best band. They've never made a ballad. They've never ever done anything other than just kick ass.
Yeah.
I mean,
even if you looked at them at the Grammys this year, they were the best act.
Oh yeah.
And just little things like now in the show, everyone gets devil horns. It's just like it's like so cliche rock and roll. Yeah, we're all going to be devils. All right.
You're going to dress your kid this summer as Angus. That's what you see now. Everyone dresses their kid as Angus for.
My kid, I think he's just about to hit this year for Halloween, where he gets to choose his own outfit.
Oh, okay.
You know, the first couple of years, you choose something, you do a family motif.
Yeah, I was going to name my kid Angus if it came out a boy.
Really?
My wife was totally, we were going to do it. Like, because there's no Angus.
My son's named after my girlfriend's father, who was actually called Henricus, who was a Dutch guy, right? And so everyone called him Hank when he moved to Canada. And I said, I like the name Hank Jefferies, is a cool name, right?
Yeah.
And but my mother, she's such a pain in the ass. She goes, I will not call him that name. It's too common. Now, let me say something. I grew up extraordinarily common and poor. Right? but my mother has...
Is Jim an exquisite name in Australia?
my mother has higher aspirations.
King
James.
She has these higher aspirations. She goes, Hank. You know what it was? She doesn't like it because it's a very American name, is what she doesn't like. Because there's no Australian Hanks. You know, Hank is like a real like country western.
Yeah, Hank Williams Jr.
Yeah, like that type of thing, right? There's no Australian Hanks. We don't use that name, right? And so I said to him, you will? That's what you're fucking calling him because that'll be his fucking name.
Yeah.
You can make up another one if you want, but he won't answer to it because it won't be his freaking name.
No, Hank's
if Grandma calls you anything but Hank, tell her to piss off, right?
Yeah, it's. I would have called, if I had a daughter, I would have called her Sydney. I would have, after the city I grew up in, but also
not Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, it's a good stripper. Yeah, Sidney Poitier. Because I would assume any of my children would come out black because I don't trust my girlfriend.
Well, let's talk about that. How old's your son now?
His birthday's November, so he's 2 and a bit, 2.5, more than 2 and a half.
What's the birthday? I'm November 12th. 6th.
That's my mom's birthday, November 12th.
There's a lot of people born on November. I know like 8 people.
All months. That's a sweeping statement. A lot of people born in November.
Yeah.
No, but a lot of people are. Whatever that 9 months is before that is.
No, it's only because you notice it because you're born in November. So you take note when other people are born in November. You go, I'm born on Valentine's Day. I feel like everyone's born on Valentine's Day because I know all the famous people who are born on
Well, there you go. Maybe I know. I do know a lot of people born like within 2 days of me.
Yeah. Well, it's strange that there's you meet a lot of, when you meet other kids the same age as my son, you meet like, oh, you were born a week apart. Oh.
Hank's a great name though. I call everyone named Henry Hank because I like the name Hank, but Hank is like not going to hopefully take over. Like I named my daughter Isabella, thinking like, Isabella's such a nice name. It means like queen in Italian and everything.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Now Isabella's like fucking Jennifer. Now there's like everyone's named Isabella or now she's called Ella half the time because there's 5 Isabellas and she likes Ella better. I'm like, just don't be named Izzy. Izzy's like a TSA lesbian.
Yeah.
Well, the Australian Izzy Azalea. What about her? She's
I think her name's Iggy though.
Oh, is it Iggy?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know what she looks like though.
I don't know. I got interviewed. I was in Australia and they said, how famous are you in America? And I'm like, I don't know. If you know stand-up comedy, I guess you know who I am. It's like such a cunty question.
That is kind of a cunty question.
Because then the thing is, then if you go really famous, you sound like a prick. Or if you go not famous at all, well, what am I selling here? I don't know what I'm meant to be doing in your interview. And then she went through Australians who are allegedly famous in America. And she goes, I want you to answer, you more or less famous than these people. Right?
What the fuck kind of? What is this?
So she named some
TMZ
soap stars from Australia who haven't made it over here. And I go, well, I guess I'm more famous than them. Yeah, I guess. And then she mentioned like an athlete that's trying to be in the NFL that I'd never heard of. And I go, well, I guess I'm more famous than him in the comedy world, but less in the sporting world, I guess. I don't know.
What kind of, it's like
and
Jeopardy.
And then it was like Izzy or Iggy Azalea, and I'd never heard of her at this stage. And I said, I guess I'm more famous than her because I've never heard of her. And then she went, well, she has this many gold albums and 2 million Twitter followers, so you're saying you're more famous than her? I just said I'd never heard of her.
Yeah.
That's all I said.
Yeah. Well, I think she makes shitty music. Maybe that's why I've never heard of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 38 years old. Maybe that's why I'm not down.
Yeah, I mean, literally, like, AC/DC is probably the only band I knew on the Grammys when you said about it. Like, I thought it was a miracle because hockey was on that night, and that was like, it was over. They were done at 8:05. It was like, now I can get back to my life. I'd have to sit there and fast forward through everybody.
Well,
I never watched the Grammys.
I used to watch the Grammys and stuff like that. You used to watch them and think, I wonder who will...
But it used to be kind of like, it used to be somewhat interesting. Now it's like there's, I mean,
I think the things like Barbra Streisand and Neil Diamond doing a duet moments.
Right, but also...
Which you don't really have now.
But also it was bands
anymore.
But also it was also...
We're old.
No, but I mean, there's no musicians. There's no musicianship.
It's all electronic stuff. It's all fake,
and it's choreography as well. It's a lot of dancing.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of voice. Like it's not their real voice. It's gone through a voice, kind of changer.
But it's not bands. It's not people. That's what I still have my daughter. She plays trumpet. Now she's playing drums. She wants to be be famous. It's like, well, you have to learn you have to write your own songs and play an instrument because all the other girls, they're just strippers.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what's his name?
Oh, there's no money in dancing.
Yeah, I mean, like Beyonce. She's a stripper who married a crack dealer. That's what she is. She dances.
Well, I'd like to distance myself from those comments.
Go ahead.
I mean, you're going to distance yourself from anything? No, come on, Jim.
Beyonce's a stripper who married a crack dealer.
You pussy.
Said with no sense of irony, just as a fact.
Yeah, I think it is a fact.
You pussy. You got to stand behind that.
They did perform some songs along the way.
Yeah, but what does she do though? She dances. I mean, that's what to me. No, because then people are like, well, like, oh, that's or they think I'm they like, oh, that's racist, or they have black people. It's terrible. I go, no, they're all strippers. Like, no, I don't call like Mariah Carey a stripper. She sings. Like, people that sing that have a talent. That's so much different than being known for shaking your ass a different way.
Here's one. What do you call then the who's that bird off The Voice? Who's the popular bird? The Christina Aguilera.
She's pretty much a whore.
Yeah, but she can sing, that girl.
Yeah, she can sing. She can sing, but she doesn't dance like it's the dancing.
When she brought out that Gotta Get Nasty video, what is it called? Naughty or whatever it was.
Yeah, she had some pretty good.
Dirty.
Yeah.
Well, like wearing the chaps in the boxing ring.
Thank you. That was nice.
I didn't see that, but
I appreciated those chaps.
Probably if we look back at it now, because that was over 10 years ago, it probably looks very tame by today.
Yeah.
But that was the most outrageous thing I'd ever seen.
Well, it's like,
like as someone who's raising a girl. When you're like when you see role models, literally, it's like it's like you don't want Beyonce in the same breath as Mrs. Obama. You know what I mean? Like
she has a name.
I don't want that to be the same. Like that shouldn't be like you don't want to grow up to be her. Like she's a fucking.
Well, I think the biggest one is like the Miley Cyrus. Now, I mean, this chick is such a. Skank.
She gave a great speech for Joan Jett, though.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. Well, I actually think she's mildly talented.
Miley Cyrus?
Yeah, she's mildly.
Well, personally, I think she's got an incredibly cute ass, and she's old enough now. I can say that.
Oh,
a few years ago, I couldn't say that, but
you used to think it. You couldn't say it. Not in this country.
No,
in Australia and Britain, where you're allowed to have sex with 16-year-olds, go for your life, but not over here with your restrictive laws.
Well, that's what's fun about now. My daughter's old enough to like before she'd watch kid shows, but now she watches like the teenage shows. Like Victorious Justice, that chick is hot.
Yeah, but this is. They did a joke on the Family Guy. They said like Nickelodeon. The ad for Nickelodeon. They go, Nickelodeon. Ask your daughter discreetly who that girl on the screen is, then take your laptop into the bathroom.
I love that shit.
My daughter watches Family Guy constantly too. She loves. I like how that's her sense of humor.
Yeah,
it's like Family Guy now.
I think the funniest
thing is with TV that's different now is The kids have got their own. I grew up watching 4 channels, and you guys would have had cable way before Australia. Like, we only got cable like 10 years ago or something. We had 4 channels, and on those 4 channels, that was all you'd watch, and there was one TV. So I seen every Abbott and Costello movie and all that Mar and Park Kettle films. I've seen all Garland old movie, Shirley Temple film. I saw all these because my mother used to watch shitty black and white movies on a Sunday, and that was the only movie that was on. And now kids today, and I used to watch the same sitcoms my parents watched, but now they have their own channels where they just watch their own shitty fucking television.
Yeah. No, yeah, they don't. I mean, it used to be there was like maybe 6 channels before cable, like the 3 and then PBS, and then like 2 or 3 ones you like 53 and that was it though. You watch like only Saturday mornings were you watching what my grandfather did.
Don't you?
Like, I always watched what my grandfather. Like, my grandfather said what was on. You didn't say, "Oh no, I want to watch this show." Like that's not what we're watching.
But don't you think now though? But don't you think now the raciest shows of them all are the cartoons, because they can get away with so much more?
Oh, of course, the cartoons can.
I mean, like Family Guy had a thing where the baby's learning how to swim, and he wants to be a faster swimmer. So the dog walks in on him, and the Stewie is there shaving like his whole body,
Yeah.
and he turns to the dog and he goes, feel free to say no to this, but would you shave my coin purse? And it's like there's no way you could get a guy to say, help me, shave my balls.
Brings us to what Seinfeld was saying, that people are getting too offended too easily by stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Now, my point on this is, why is it us comedians that get in trouble and not comedy programming or comedy acting? Why do comedians, if I say a rape joke on stage, why am I the worst person in the world? And may I say, in Australia, I got a lot of flack on the last tour and people protesting and articles. They sent the Age newspaper, which is one of the biggest newspapers, sent a woman to review my show who runs a battered women's refuge. Doesn't sound like she's a comedy reviewer. Why is that fair? And all because I did a Bill Cosby rape joke in the whole thing. Now, my point...
Brilliant joke.
Yeah,
remember I saw it at the Improv, I'm like, that joke is hilarious.
Well, my point is this. Why am I more responsible than the Family Guy makes rape jokes? Monty Python's The Life of Brian has a rape joke throughout the whole thing about his mum being raped by a Roman, and then in the end she goes, "Oh, I was raped at first," implying that she started to enjoy it. Right? Why is it us comedians that are told we can't do something or marginalised or censored when? Okay, so first of all, why are you allowed to do comedy in cartoon form or in movie form, and then why is comedy censored and not drama? Why can't you make a rape joke, which is still a part of fiction, but you can depict a rape scene? Why is a drama more important than a joke?
I completely agree with you, and I think that the country, and it's not the whole country. I think what happens is you have these small groups that are offended by anything. Yeah. It wouldn't matter what the fuck you said. They just don't like your point of view. So they're going to find something in your act to pick out to say this person is this kind of person.
I have to say though, like, and I think Jim's out there the furthest and probably the most famous person that says whatever. But I think by me just being a comic that says whatever and I'm on PC, way more people come up and take notice of me.
Oh, of course.
I mean, I think that plays to, like, if you're willing to go out there and not to say something that isn't funny.
Oh, no,
but to make it in a funny way, I think then you stand out because people are like, wow, you have you're saying that. People are, it's like, yeah, I mean, in a lot of women that I would think would be totally like, well, I always think the women who like themselves love me and women who hate themselves hate me. But I mean, just people who you wouldn't think, like, they're the ones that are like, wow, that's amazing, because they're yearning for someone to break through.
But I also,
it's a double-edged sword. You take the good with the bad. Like, obviously, I'm never going to win any major awards or anything for comedy because there'll always be someone on whatever panel that doesn't like what I do, and then that's been throughout my career.
Right, but that's the way it is.
Then I get noticed, and then hopefully you get on, you get an HBO special or a Netflix or something like that, and no one blocks you along the way because hopefully there's enough rational-minded people to to make it all right. But what I find bizarre is, so Seinfeld says college students are getting too offended. Seinfeld is arguably one of the least offensive comics on the planet. Doesn't even swear.
Yeah. That's what makes it great that he came out against it.
But there's people who have been. A woman wrote an article in the Huffington Post, angry about what Seinfeld said. She was offended by him saying people get too offended.
See, but
you understand how stupid that is?
Yes.
I'm offended by those comments because I was at college, and you're saying that we all get offended. Well, you're doing it right now.
Right.
Right now, you're saying that you're offended by saying that us saying you get offended too quickly.
Well, this country turned away. I mean, when I was a kid, it was always sticks and stones can break your bones, but names will never hurt you. And this country got away from that. Now it's like, oh my God, you're called.
It's like everything's like a hate. It's like hate speech, or it's a bullying, cyberbullying, and all this shit. But see,
cyberbullying, the thing I'd hate to grow up these days.
But the thing that bugs me.
You know what? The kid that used to bully me all the time. When I was a kid, he comes out and buys me dinner once a year because he comes to the Breeders' Cup. Like, we're great friends. Bullying serves a purpose.
The bullies are all nice to me now. They're like, wow, you made it. Good for you.
Yeah, I was picked on all the time. I used to stutter. I get picked on constantly. It made me a better person.
But see, the thing that bugs me the most about what you're talking about, the offensive thing, is like you're making a joke about Bill Cosby, the Bill Cosby rape joke. Bill Cosby's the one that raped chicks. You're not raping. Yeah, exactly.
That's what I say on stage. I did a tour on theatres. I did two in theatres, and I did these 2 gigs in Canada. And 2 days before me, Bill Cosby was performing. And this was just after the rape allegations came out. He sold 2,000 seats in both theatres, and only 1,000 people showed up. And 1,000 people didn't show up because they're not going to watch a rapist for 2 hours, even though they bought the tickets. But 1,000 people went, pay them money.
Yeah.
Right?
He's not giving a refund. He's paying for the lawyers.
Make me laugh, rapist.
These are the same people who came along to see him, and the same people who walk out of my shows because of the things that I'm saying, because they wanted to watch a good, clean, wholesome comic like Bill Cosby, who rapes, rather than watch a dirty comic like myself, who's only raped a couple of times.
Yeah. And she was half awake.
But see, it's like you say anything anymore. Like I do a joke about the Pope, condoning spanking kids, and I say, who's different than all the other popes before that condone fucking kids?
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's funny. I think it's a funny joke. I don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks. I like it because it's the truth. It's true.
It's true. Yeah.
It's true. And it's like people kind of sit there for a second and they go, oh yeah, that's actually true, because it's known the Catholic Church has millions of dollars put away just to pay off the people.
I've only been offended like one time by what anyone's ever said on stage, and it was just this year. I was at a show in the Valley, and this guy did a Bill Cosby imitation, and he didn't do a rape joke. I'm like, you're such a lazy fucking hack that you're going to do a Bill Cosby imitation and do pudding pop jokes?
Yeah.
You piece of shit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Quit.
You haven't changed it for years.
Yeah.
Well, every now and again you get offended. Every now and again someone says something, but then what? You move on with your life.
But I think Burr said it best when he was talking about people that do this, and he was talking, and what Bill said, and I really appreciated it, was that it's like I'm a comedian. I'm making a joke. It's just a joke. It's not. I'm not out there trying to. It's just a fucking joke.
Oh no, it's
period.
not. It's not a TED talk. You can't.
This isn't.
If you said it in an interview and you said it seriously and you said these are my beliefs or whatever like that, but fucking hell, man, I bullshit about my own life on stage. Like I start with a story and then I embellish it, and by the end of the time I'm on stage, I'm telling the story, I'm like, well, I'm fucking just lying now.
The story of Jim's 3-foot cock.
If I get asked in an interview, I'll tell you the truth. But on stage, it's a fucking show. You're watching a show.
How did you start on stage? Because I met a guy from Australia last night who said, I got to go to Australia and do some festivals over there. But he said now it's starting where there's like a little scene, local scenes now.
Yeah, there was one comedy club in Sydney, and I used to, which is 4.5 million people in the city. It should have more, But I used to go down there and try to do the open mic night, and I started in Perth actually, and they had an open mic night on a Wednesday. Well, they didn't even have it. They did a comedy night on a Wednesday where they put one guy in the middle who was his first time, you know?
Yeah.
And so I used to go down, and I the waiting list was like 3 months. There was more people wanting to do comedy than actually wanting to watch it. And so I lied. I just fucking lied through my teeth. I said I've been doing it for years. I just moved over from Sydney, and I was a professional. This was before the internet. No one checked anything. Like, this is like just lying to get
his
a job.
third HBO special, and tonight he's going to be running some new material.
And so I had all this set ready, and I got up and I did all right.
You remember your first joke you ever wrote?
First big sort of set piece I wrote was a religious joke about. It's still not a bad joke if you put it if you bookend it with better jokes.
It sounds like my whole career.
It was a joke about how I was on. This is how the joke came about. I was on ecstasy in college, and I was sitting, and I burnt through the night, and my friends had all left, and I was sitting in my house, my apartment, and on the TV, I started watching. There was only 4 channels in Australia still, and I'm watching fucking religious television. So I'm watching like like Sunday prayers and all that type of bullshit. And then I never realized until then that Jesus didn't do any God activities until he was 30, and he died at 33.
Yeah.
And I said, what the fuck? Like, his mum was artificially inseminated by an angel. He obviously knew, like, someone must have whispered in his ear that he was God along the way. And why did he work as a carpenter until he was 30? And I said, oh, maybe it's not his fault. Maybe his dad sat him down when he was young and said, look, Jesus, I know being God's awesome and all that, but maybe you should get yourself a career first. Get yourself a trade. You'll always have that to fall back onto. And if there's, it's all right. It was just a little shitty religious joke.
Yeah.
And I think at that stage I'd probably been watching a lot of, what did I watch? There's a guy called Anthony Morgan I used to watch a lot in Australia. And then I think I started watching Richard Pryor in concert at that stage. And, I didn't get good at comedy, I reckon, for 4 years. I was making a living after a year, but I didn't get good at it for at least 4 years. And then I think every year I think I've gotten worse at it. And then I bring out a special and I go, oh, it's all right. It's okay.
I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing to me how. I mean, like I know you went from Australia. You went to England for a while.
As soon as I finished university, I went straight to England for 10 years because I was in England from 23 till about 33, and I did comedy in Australia for a year before that. And the cool thing is, England's the opposite of Australia. There's more people wanting to watch comedy than who can perform it. At least at that stage.
Did you do any of those? Like the pubs and the stuff, like the Mirth, the Mirth tour? So I got to do that last year.
Oh,
I'd like Maidstone. I did the Maidstone pub.
Who did you do that with?
I did that with Camilla Cleese.
No, I know Camilla Cleese, but who did you book that through?
Some guy.
Mirth Control.
Yeah, Mirth.
Jeff Whiting.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a gig for you.
Yeah,
more money to come.
Yeah, but I remember
telling you that the big one around the corner, Jeff. This one's a good one.
Yeah, I remember we took this train out to this town called Maidstone, where there's a big prison.
Yeah, Maidstone's a nice place.
Yeah, and you go in this pub. They've been doing comedy there for like 30 years.
Yeah.
And you go in, and it's this little bitty pub. There's dogs and cats and shit in the pub, and then all of a sudden they go 8 o'clock. Everyone sits down, grabs a beer, hangs out, and fucking watches comedy. It's like it was a great gig.
The whole country is built for comedy. It's raining. It's lightly raining outside.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Everyone's house is too small to live in, so they go down to the park. Like the real thing in England is the whole idea behind the corner pub, like every end of each street has a pub, is because they're all living in these shitty apartments, and they use the pub like their living room.
Oh, wow.
That's like there's sort of a mentality where you go down there, even if you're just having one drink, and then it's that whole that Billy Joel lyric. They're sharing a drink they call loneliness, but it's better than drinking alone. It's like these people are all alone together. And they all know each other, but they're not friends, and it's
right. Kind of like New York.
Yeah, and so it does lend itself to having a comedy gig in every pub on some night, and there's always a quiz night on a Monday. And comedy on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
And
but it's fun. You go around to these little different pubs where you wouldn't normally, like in America, it's like there's comedy club. There's a set up kind of comedy club in every city. And now, I mean,
and Irish bars always have comedy shows.
Yeah, but the cool thing about there is you go to this place, it's like 300 years old or 400 years old, and it's this little bitty pub.
And you'll have some places where it's a pub that you're doing a comedy show, and 250 people will show up.
Yeah.
Like, they're not little gigs.
No.
And they're paying you £200. And so you're like, oh, you know, like...
And you only have to do like 20 minutes.
20 minutes. And there's an interval in between.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, this is the weird thing. If you want to get pussy out of comedy, do England, Britain. Is the only way to do it. Because after the gig finishes, everyone hangs around and still drinks till 2 in the morning in the same room that you just performed in.
Perfect.
And
Fantastic.
so even the comedy clubs in Britain, they go, and after the show, we'll be moving all the tables and seats away, and this will become a nightclub. And so you're in a nightclub where you're the most famous person, even though you're broke as fuck and you earn $100 a
Right.
night, and you have a dressing room for blowjobs just off to the side.
But now you probably came over here in a better position.
Oh, I came.
When I came up here, when my comedy career, those were like the worst gigs. The ones were like, okay, comedy from 8 to 9:30, and then there's going to be disco.
Yeah.
So that means all the local assholes come at 9 o'clock.
Oh, no.
and ruin your show by 9:30.
This would be them just trying to keep the people in.
Oh yeah, no, you know what I'm saying though. I did all of those gigs.
I don't envy anybody having to start comedy in America. It sounds shit. I just watch. It's just the fucking no one getting paid, and also I believe that this industry's cattier over here than it is in Britain because of it's the us and them thing. See, in Britain, you go into a gig. Let's say everyone's getting £150. You get £150. I get £150. We all get £150. And then we all go drinking and we all buy rounds because we all earn the same money, and it's a sort of comrade type of stuff. Where comedy clubs over here, it's like, that guy's getting $25,000 and you're getting $20.
Yeah.
And so there's got to be bitterness. See, in Britain, if you get out of that, if you get above the comedy clubs don't advertise who's on. They might say, oh, tonight we got these 3 names. But it isn't like you have to do radio for that club. People just show up to the club regardless of who's on. So if you get so popular that you believe people are coming to see you and not the club, then you book yourself a theatre. Or you book yourself, like, there's a lot of community centres with like little 300, 200 seat theatres. Mm-hmm. You know, book yourself one of those shitty little artsy theatres and see if people show up just to watch you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're getting $170 like the other guy's fucking getting.
And the cool thing too there is what I noticed is they call the MC. What do they call the MC?
Compere.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy is usually the most experienced guy.
Yeah.
That's the guy that's actually been doing it longer. Whereas in America, the MC is a guy who's usually been doing it, maybe a year or two, and and he goes up and does 5 minutes and kind of eats a little bit of shit, and then
I tell you what, like, there's little phrasing things that are different. So, opening act, I call opening act support acts, right?
Yeah.
Now, you never call them support acts over here, right?
They do on theater tours.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Like Forrest is your support.
Yeah, support. But I rang up Sam Morrell, and I was doing a gig in New York. I was doing like the Best Buy, and I said, "Hey, I'd like you to come down and support me." Like, and he's like, "All right, Jim, is everything going all right?" I'm offering him a gig.
Are you okay? Are you okay, mate?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I need a support for that night. Okay.
Yeah, you need a hug before you go in.
Are you gonna put my name on the guest list, or do I need to buy a ticket?
Yeah. Like, I'd love to see you, Jim, but can you put me on the list?
Sounds like Jim's hit hard time. He needs support. It's funny. Like, I use Forrest as my support act on the road, and for a couple of reasons. So I don't keep my nose clean because I got a kid now, so I don't want to cheat or anything like that. So, but also because I like the company. I share a room. We're like Bert and Ernie. I think we're the only act on the fucking road. We have a little bed next to each other.
There you go.
I like the company because you want to know what the difference is. When you get drunk and you wake up next to a girl that you're dating, or your wife or your girlfriend or whatever, and you wake up and there's fear. You wake up like if they're going to be angry at you. Like, you look over like, hey, good morning. Wondering whether they're going to be like, good morning, you were drunk last night. Like that, right?
Yeah.
And so you wake up a little bit fearful. When you get drunk and then you wake up next to your friend, It's always fun. It cheers you up.
Yeah, you just check and make sure you got all your clothes on.
You wake up and they go, "You were drunk last night." And you go, "Yeah, I was."
Yeah.
So you laugh about the night.
Yeah.
So Forrest doesn't snore that bad?
He does. Forrest does snore.
Because I'm like legendarily horrible snorer.
Well, his girlfriend Forrest is overweight. I don't think I'm saying anything mean there.
He's not that overweight though.
Not comparison to you, but in comparison to what
the guy's big bone.
In comparison to what medical science says.
Well, compared to LA, in LA, he's fat.
You know, he's a husky. Husky.
In Houston, he's just
Kevin
a normal dude.
James in season 2 of.
Well, I remember when Forrest was still living in Florida, and you used to work with him. Yeah, he's put on a few pounds since then.
Yeah, but we all have. I'm not, but the thing is, he's got a lovely girlfriend, Lisa, who's also a comedian, and Lisa just adores him. I've never seen a woman adore a man more than his girlfriend adores him, and.
Give it time.
Yeah, no, she did. No, I think it's because she lived
My
in
wife used to
Florida.
love me too, Jim.
Yeah. It's like Forrest did Conan. She came over here and she goes, "On your big television, Jim, just his eyes sparkle so much, don't they?" And I'm like, "I can't see it. He's sparkly." but she says sleeping next to him, he's just this big snoring machine, is like sleeping next to a majestic beast, like a lion who's in the Africa just sleeping near its prey.
It must make her feel safe because I knew a chick that loved my snoring because she's like it reminded her of her dad.
Oh, that's how I went.
It made her feel like a kid
that's why
again.
she enjoyed my fingering.
On that note, listen, I know you got to get to a meeting, but I want to thank you for being here. Where obviously they can follow you on.
When does this go out?
We'll probably put it out tomorrow.
Well, I'll be in Indiana on Thursday. Friday, I'm going to be in Detroit. I'm going to be in Detroit on Thursday. Friday, Indiana, and then I'll be doing. There's still 1,000 tickets left, but I'll be at the Hyde Park Festival in London.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, check this for a lineup. Right, the lineup goes: one night's Kylie Minogue, then it's like Taylor Swift, then Blur, then The Who, and then the next night's me.
Awesome.
You're close. How about that? The Who and then Jim Jefferies.
Yeah. Well, it's what they do is they do Thursday to Sunday, big bands standing, so 15,000 people, and then they do comedy Monday to Wednesday with bigger acts, and then it's like 5,000 seated. Yeah.
So who else is doing comedy?
Ed Burns doing a night. Ardlo Hanlon, I believe, which is you'd have to be British. He's the guy out of Father Ted. And that's still a popular show over there. Rich Hall's doing a night with his band. He's quite popular. He was from America.
Oh, you know what? I don't know if you caught this.
But Rich Hall's been living in London for a number of years now.
Yeah, he's very popular in the UK.
I don't want to make this too much longer, but no. What's there's a sitcom that was called How Not to Live Your Life.
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I loved it. Was on like whatever, some cable. I thought it was the funniest show on television, basically until Legit came out. But that guy's stand up. Obviously, that show was hilarious. You know what I'm talking about, though?
I was thinking of an American one. I don't know the British How Not to Live Your Life. I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
The thing is, I always go with Legit. I go, I was cancelled so early. I still did twice as many episodes as Fawlty Towers and The British Office.
There you go.
We did 26 episodes. Those only did 12.
There you go.
Yeah. How Not to Live Your Life was like, it had maybe 4 seasons. It was so hilarious. But
what I find weird is they just sell this whole idea of just anything that Britain makes, they make again. It's gone so far now that they're reselling shit to you. Like there was Friends. So Britain made a show called Coupling, where they took friends, made British friends. They got couples or coupling, and now
they don't have their own Jennifer Aniston, do they?
No,
there's only one Jennifer Aniston.
But then America bought Coupling as a show, so they're just buying their own shit back again.
Oh Jesus Christ!
But then it's like I watched that. There's that documentary on CNN called The 70s. You ever watch that? It's the best. They had the 60s last year.
Okay.
Really good.
No.
Each year is like a different thing, like the TV in the 70s, then like whatever wars we had, and then you know.
See, that's when I grew up. I was like my childhood was the 70s.
It's really good. Check out CNN the 70s. It's on demand. It's really good.
I will. I'll look at it.
And they had Norman Lear then, and I know Norman Lear. Strangely enough, I'm kind of friends with Norman Lear in a weird way. He legit, but my girlfriend's friends with him because anyway, he's like the grandfather of fucking
All in the Family. One of the greatest shows.
All in the Family, the Jeffersons, Maude, Good Times, every great show in the 70s. Sanford and Son.
Yeah.
Even then in the 80s, he had The Facts of Life was his.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because I bought some.
Norman Lear was hands down. That was like, it's kind of funny because like, what's his name now? Steve Levitan. Levitan has like Modern Family, and he's got a bunch of shows. Kind of like this guy.
Chuck Lorre.
Chuck Lorre, who's got I never was a big fan of Two and a Half Men. I never watched it. It was never my thing.
Yeah, but you know who it's for. It's not for you.
Yeah, but he does have this other show, the one about all the geeks, the scientist geeks.
Yeah, the Big Bang Theory.
And I kind of watch that. It's coming on reruns now, and it's actually pretty goddamn funny.
Yeah, it's funny for characters.
It's funny for character
my
show.
My nephew and niece fucking love it.
Yeah.
And they're like 13 and 15, and I'm like, all right, well,
Yeah, I kind of grown to like it a little bit.
Things aren't for. But see, this is the thing with Norman Lear and the whole Archie Bunker. And all that. He didn't invent that. That was the British show, Till Death Do Us Part.
Wow.
And the character was Alf Garnett. And then Stepford and Son was Steptoe and Son, which was a British show as well.
Yeah.
Well, look at.
But you know where the
dropping knowledge.
You know where the Jeffersons came along? Because they had after Archie Bunker and all that, so the Black Panthers visited Norman Lear, and they were like, "We want you to do a show where black people are successful." Everything else is like Steptoe and Son, where they're like living in a junk heap.
Or else.
So he made the Jeffersons, which were like rich people, because Good Times he made as well.
Yeah.
Good Times was like poor people.
Right, Dynamite.
Yeah.
I still think the greatest thing ever, and Ren Azizi actually does it in his show, but is the George Jefferson walk.
Yeah.
That fucking swagger when George Jefferson's walking, it's like, the brother with money just cruising up the hill.
He owed the comedy club in Albuquerque, like he took a $10,000 advance and never showed up.
George Jefferson?
George Jefferson.
Oh, fuck, that's awesome.
Yeah, even if he wasn't beforehand, in the 80s, he became one. Milking out. That's when
Jimmy Walker can do it, so can George
that's
Jefferson,
when you know. Jimmy Walker was a great stand-up.
Yeah.
But that's when you know Bruce Jenner has hit rock bottom when he'll be doing stand-up. That'll be the end.
Yeah, it's a real career you do on the way up and the way down. The old stand up, isn't it?
Yeah. It's on.
One of my favorite jokes is whenever you play like a shit venue, it's a hack joke in England, which always has like a person let's call it the Sheffield Room, because there's a gig called the Sheffield Room, and there's always like something we go, oh, it's good to be here at the Sheffield Room. They say you only play it twice in your career, once on the way up, once on the way down. Nice to see you again.
Listen, go online, get Jim Jefferies tickets to if you're in England. Go.
Me and Paul Verzi, the All In tour, headlining second stage Pittsburgh Comedy Fest at the Rex. It's huge. Go see Norton and Segura, and then come see me and Paul Verzi, the All In tour, the Rex Theater in Pittsburgh, Friday, June 26th. And I'm on the bus with Burr. You know where Burr's at.
Everybody knows where Burr's at. All right, Jim, listen, buddy, thanks so much for being here,
Thanks
man.
for
Appreciate
having me,
it.
Anytime. Come
All right,
again.
This is Insensitivity Training. I'm Cort McCown.
I'm Joe Bartnick.
Have a great week, guys. Have a great week, guys. Have a great week, guys. Have a great week, guys.